Good morning, everyone. Today, we would be discussing BFEE 102, which is an elective. The name of the course is Elective on Family Education. This particular course has got three blocks. In the first block, the main heading is Social Institution of Marriage. Under Social Institution of Marriage, we have further have different units. The first unit is Marriage and Family, Choosing Life Partner. The second unit is Marriage in India. Third is Society, Culture, Religion, and Family Values, whereas the fourth one is marital life and rule expectations. Now, when we talk about marriage, what does the term marriage have? Now, for different people, marriage has got a different connotation. To some, marriage is a relationship between men and women for the propagation of the human species, while some people take it as a license for sex. Yet, another group considers marriage as a means for companionship. Well, marriage comprises all these views, and it is much more than all of this. It is a very complex institution, which is very difficult to define in one or two sentences. Many sociologists and philosophers have given different views about the meaning and scope of marriage. Now, let us look at the different definitions of marriage. And the first one is marriage as a relationship. Marriage is one of the deepest and most fulfilling of human relationships. It has existed in varying forms throughout the history of man, responding to the fundamental needs and social aspirations of each generation. That is the first thing, where we say that marriage is the most closest and deepest of relationships amongst all the relationships that exist in society. The second is marriage is an institution, which says that marriage is a union of a man and woman with their bodies, minds, souls, emotions, and desires. And what the important thing here is that the essence of this union is love. That there is an emotion, and the emotion of love is important for the union. Marriage is considered to be a primary relationship because it is a personal relationship between the partners. Now, when we talk about the biological aspect of marriage, we all know that all animals mate, but man marries. Man does not just mate. Looking from the biological point of view, we can say that mating is a biological matter, while marriage is a social affair. The sex instinct is one of the basic instincts for reproduction in all living organisms and also in man. In the case of man, however, from the beginning of society, this instinct has been subjected to various regulations and control. And marriage may be defined as a mechanism of regulation and control of the biological reproduction. What it means is that for the purpose of biological reproduction, normally it is said that a marriage has to take place. So that is how this there is this control and restriction in case of man as far as his natural instincts of sex and mating are concerned. Then comes the social aspects of marriage. The we all know that we just discussed that the basic factor in marriage is love. True love between man and woman in marriage is a complete giving to one another. There should be a union of the souls and the minds. Now, what is important here is giving to one another, not just one giving to the other. Okay. So we just saw that love is the basis of this relationship. And the important point is giving to one another. It's not one giving to the other totally. So it's a mutual give and take. So there should be a union of souls and bodies. There should be a union of emotions. All of these imply complete, exclusive, and lifelong giving of one's self to the other. So it is a give and take where both are equally important, and the give and take of both is important. It's not that one should love and the other can just keep continuing just receiving the love. Both the partners, the mutual relationship is very important. Next is the psychological aspect of marriage. In marriage, man's basic longing for communication and completeness finds its natural culmination. We all know that we all need to communicate and have relationships and feel a sense of completeness. So marriage culminates into, it is a natural culmination into the of these feelings. Human beings find their fulfillment as men and women. In a marriage, the male and female complement each other. It fills the physical and psychological void which exists in human beings alone. Marriage makes possible the satisfaction of strong and natural tendency to be together in the union for which nature has designed them. So this is a union which is natural. It is a process of nature. It is not something which is created by man. It is inherent in all human beings. The legal aspect of marriage. The union and between man and women must be legitimate. Now, we all know that this union has to be legitimate, and that legitimacy is provided by marriage. So, marriage should be legal, social, and there should be civil acceptance for marriage. Legal sanction is based on prevailing social norms and customs. Different societies have got different norms and customs. It varies from one society to another. The legal minimum age for marriage in India is 18 years for girls and 21 years for boys. So, for the marriage to be legitimate or legal, the girl should be of a minimum 18 years and the boys should be of minimum 21 years. Now, we have discussed I looked at marriage from different dimensions and we've looked at its different perspectives. Now, what are the functions and purposes of marriage? Well, one of the most important is marriage is union and procreation. If it is only procreation, marriage is not a must. Now you must understand this. What it says is marriage, the purpose of marriage is procreation. What is procreation? It is giving birth to another a child of the same species. That is procreation. But then, if that is the only purpose, then why do you need to have a marriage? Procreation can happen when one man, any two couples come together, or any man and woman come together. So, but marriage the union in marriage is a medium of physical, psychological, and spiritual communication of love and commitment of self. So, that is one purpose of marriage, union and procreation. The second one is marriage for sex. The natural end of sexual relationship is conception of children. Now, only through the means of sexual relationship can children be conceived. An equally important purpose of the union itself, the mutual love, pleasure, and happiness of the husband and wife. So, sex is not just something which is physical, it is also an expression and a union where both of them express mutual love, pleasure, and there is happiness. Happiness, and it should be for both the partners, the husband and the wife. Marriage, therefore, fosters mutual love and attachment. It provides for the legitimate expression of sexual satisfaction, which is a natural instinct, and it is very important that the sexual instinct is also satisfied. So, the second is marriage for sex. Then is the marriage for companionship and friendship. The most important need of the human being is intimacy in living with and making a commitment to another human being. We all like to be in intimate relationships and we all give some commitments to each other. Whatever the relationship, there is some commitment. Now, what is friendship? According to Janet Kidd, friendship is having a privileged position in someone else's life and giving them a privileged position in your own. It is sharing yourselves with those we like. Friendship is the cornerstone of marriage, which lasts even when sexual desire is over. as you reach the last stage of life, which is the elderly, when you the aging phase of life, the sexual desire is no longer there, it is over, but still the relationship continues because it is also based on companionship and friendship. Then comes marriage for socialization. Marriage is a means through which the socialization and growth of a person reaches its fulfillment. It provides numerous opportunities to bring about security, cooperation, and love. Another purpose of marriage is to create a family to provide the natural environment in which a person can realize himself or herself. It gives society a firm base and children a stable environment to grow. As we all know, a home or a family is the first institution of socialization. So, an important function of marriage is also to provide a safe environment in which the children can reach their total potential. Marriage for matured relationship. Still, another purpose of marriage is attainment of maturity through the establishment of relationships in marriage. As you grow, as the roles in marriage change, the individuals start maturing. Rearing and education and educating the children is also one of the purposes of the marriage. The child-parent relationship as an intimate relationship. These are some of the purposes we saw. Now, there are some practical purposes of marriage. The first one is it ensures security to women who have to undergo long periods of pregnancy. In the pregnancy, you need a lot of mental, physical, and psychological support. So, the marriage provides that kind of security to the women. It provides security to the offspring. It ensures the healthy life which gives stability to society. It makes society more cohesive through relationships. It simplifies blood relationship. Now we've seen what is the function of the society. Now why do we need a society? Why do you need a family? Now let us look at the concept of family. Now, up till now we discussed the concept of marriage. Now why is there a need for a family? When the human infant is born, the infant is helpless. Now, it cannot do anything on its own. It is totally dependent on others. It has a potential for physical and mental development. Long period of pregnancy and the prolonged helplessness in the infancy and childhood needs a long association of parents. This has resulted in the formation of a family. So why we looked at why family is important. Now, as far as what is family, discuss now. We'll further discuss the various definitions of families. Now, there are certain characteristics that are common to the human families in all times and in all places, and this is what differentiates the family from other social groups. According to Ernest Burgess and Harvey Locke, the characteristics are the family is composed of individuals bound by the ties of marriage, blood, or adoption. The bond between husband and wife is that of marriage, and the relationship between the parents and the children is generally that of blood and sometimes that of adoption. So it's not just that the biological children, it could also be adopted children. So the family basically composes of parents and children. The members of the family typically live together under one roof and constitute a single household. Sometimes, as in the past, the household is large, consisting of three or four or even five generations. Now, that depends on the type of family it is, whether it is a nuclear, joint, or extended family. Today, the household is small, consisting of husband, wife, with or without one or two children. Some husbands and some couples may decide not to have a children, or they may have one or two children, whatever. So that is a household. So with the urbanization, the family size is also shrinking. The family is third point is the family is a unity of interacting and intercommunicating persons. Very important that there should be interaction and that there should be communication between the different persons or members living in the family. They play the roles of husband and wife, father and mother, son and daughter, brother and sister. So they play various roles within the family. Now, the fourth point is the family maintains a common culture that is mainly derived from the general culture. Whatever is the culture of the family or the ancestors or whatever religion or whichever group they belong to, it is derived from that particular common culture. Usually, this could also be an outcome of the merging of two cultures of the husband and wife. Since both of them come from different families, naturally the culture will differ. So when it comes to the family, the culture of the family will be a merger of these two cultures. Now let us look at the definition of family. On the basis of the above characteristics, family may be defined as a group of persons united by the ties of marriage, blood, or adoption, constituting a single household, interacting and communicating with each other in their respective social roles as husband and wife, mother and father, son and daughter, brother and sister, and creating and maintaining a common culture. So as we see in this definition, all the characteristics that we discussed earlier are a part of the definition of the family. Now, when we talk about an Indian family still follows its heritage of a very stable family structure. Now, family is still the very basic unit of in our society, and it is also an important medium of cultural transmission. The family still holds its solidarity and plays an important role in the formation of values in our society. Now, as compared to the other cultures, and especially the Western culture, the institution of family and marriage is still very strong in India. But in spite of the solidarity in the Indian families, there is a social transformation that is taking place in the Indian families also, because there is a lot of change that is happening. There is urbanization, there is industrialization, there is empowerment of women. So all because of all this, the family structure is also undergoing a lot of change. With the empowerment of women, women are getting more educated and the traditional family patterns are gradually disappearing. Traditional family values and structures are also being questioned. The religious and moral values in the families are now giving way to more secular and pragmatic values. So it could also be a positive change, or in some cases, depends on how the individual, whatever is best suits the individual, or whatever the family decides, the way they decide, whatever their pattern is best. So there is no judgment or value in this that what is good or what is bad. With the changing circumstances, naturally all everything will undergo a change, and we have to move with times. We cannot remain conservative and hold on to certain things all the time. But now, when we talk about different patterns of family in India, we will typically find three types of family structures. Now, they are the large joint family, the nuclear family, and the stem or extended family. When we talk about the large joint family, it is a huge patriarchal family where three or four generations of parents and their offsprings, offsprings means children, live together. This is mostly seen in the rural areas, and these families are mainly agricultural families who live together and who also cultivate their land together. So, not only is the family together, the land is also jointly owned by the family. Now, when we talk about advantages of the joint family, there are several advantages in the joint family. Uh, it assures that there is shelter for the elderly, for the sick, there is social security for the unemployed, and there is also a lot of support for the young couple who's just married. It, the children also grow up in an atmosphere of security and affection. The newly married couple get training in family life and child care. For the sons, their father are their role models and they get training from their father, uncle, and grandfathers. Same for the daughters. For them, there are a lot of role models like the mothers, aunts, and grandmothers from whom they get their training. So, in the joint family system, another important thing is that the wisdom and experience of the elders are shared. So, on the whole, we can say that the joint family system provides an umbrella of support which covers financial loss, social security, and even provides informal counseling. So, in that sense, it is a complete unit which takes care nearly of all the needs of the individuals or the members of the family. Now, when we look at, see, everything has its advantages and disadvantages. Similarly, in joint family pattern also, there are certain disadvantages. What happens is here the supreme authority is vested with the senior male member. The family has to, behave or take decisions according to his attitudes and his efficiency. The junior members may not take up any responsibility and initiative because there are elders who are doing it, so the juniors may sometimes just not take up their what they're supposed to do. They will not shirk responsibility. There is no freedom for the individuals, especially women. All decisions are collective, so naturally there is no freedom for individual. There is no actually in terms of decision making and all of that, and especially the women, since the males are the head of the family. It is a typical patriarchal family. The head of the family may not be able to adjust to the social changes. We all know that society is changing and there is a lot of change happening outside the family. The head of the family may not necessarily be able to adjust to these changes. So there will be a perpetuation of old customs and values. When they do not accept change, there is a possibility that the old customs and values will keep passing on from generation to generation. Now, the second type of family is the nuclear family. In this type of family, the husband and the wife live with their children. This is mostly seen in the urban areas. Here, many a times, both the husband and wife may be the earning members and may be the economically supporting the family in such type nuclear families. Now, when we look at the advantages of the nuclear family, the husband and the wife have to act according to their own ideas and their own thoughts and whatever they feel is the best. There is also financial security and individual freedom, since there are not many people to take care of. So financial security is there, and especially if both are working. Also, it provides freedom to the individual. These type of families can easily accept or adapt social changes, but there is a lot more responsibility and initiative for the members, for all the members, because the children also have to start taking the responsibility. The both husband and wife also have to take responsibility and initiative in order to run the family. Now, the disadvantages of the nuclear family are that there is nobody to help and guide the members, especially when some conflict arises. The practical wisdom and emotional security offered by the joint family is lacking in a nuclear family. There is nobody to look after the children. Children miss the protection and affection of the grandparents. Now, in case both the parents are working, then they are forced to leave the children either with the servants or in a daycare center. So they have to be dependent on external sources for rearing their children. Now, the third type of family is the STEM or extended family. It is actually a midway between the joint family and the nuclear family. The husband, wife, and children live with one of their grandparents. The advantages of this family is that it has the advantages of the nuclear joint family and the nuclear family, provided the grandparents do not dominate too much or they do not, solely take all the decisions. Children are looked after properly. Grandparents also do not feel lonely and they are happy to be with their children and grandchildren. Parents can give all the security and guidance to their son and daughter who are newly married, because if one of them stays, they can provide that particular guidance and security. The disadvantages of extended or same families are if the parents who live with their son and daughter are too dominating, again the young couple may lose their freedom and individuality. There are chances of problems with the in-laws, not getting along with the in-laws. For growth in marriage, it is desirable that the couple live on their own. So now we looked at the different types of family patterns or what are the different in India. Now, what are the functions of the family? Family provides for the reproduction of the race. We just saw that family is important for the caring and rearing and education of the children. It passes on the cultural heritage of the group. It provides physical security, protection, and the material opportunities for living and growth. It meets the deep emotional needs of both children and adults and provides for their social, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual development. It develops in its members socially desirable character, traits, and acceptable moral standards. It develops an orderly system of living amongst its members, with a provision. There is a routine for eating, sleeping, going to school, for going to work, and etc. It develops sound relationships amongst members of the family and between them and their neighbors. So we also learn to interact and start interacting with the society through the family. The family thus meets the basic physiological and psychological needs of its members, which means all the needs, whether it is physical, emotional, mental, all those are met by in the family. Now, while choosing a partner, many a times in Indian society, the partner may be chosen by the parents. So it is the parents who decide the bride or the bridegroom for um, uh, their children, whether it is boy or girl. On several occasions, now probably there is some change in this, and the youngsters or the youth are also choosing their own partners. Now, here we will discuss what are the factors that are to be considered while choosing a partner, whether it is for for the go choosing a male partner or choosing a female partner. First, very important thing is maturity. When we talk about maturity, it is physical maturity, emotional maturity, social, as well as intellectual maturity. Now, when we say that a partner should have maturity for a married life, it means that the partners or whoever the individual should have the ability to take up the full responsibility of a family. When we talk about marriage, it is not just one ceremony. It involves the transformation of the individual into a totally new phase of life, where multiple roles and multiple responsibilities have to be taken on. So unless the person is mature enough to take on that responsibility, marriage should not happen, because then it would be very stressful for the entire family, both the couple, whether both the partners, and also for the partner or the individual who's not prepared for it. Now, here, when we talk about physical maturity, age is an important factor. Now, we all discussed this earlier that according to the Indian Marriage Act, minimum age for marriage for a woman is 18, and for man it is 21. So that is physical maturity. Now, when we talk about emotional maturity, it is the ability to control one's emotions and passions. It also, there should be a development of self-restraint and the attitude of self-sacrifice. Up till now, when the person was alone, it was only I, and I. My needs, my wishes, my. But in marriage, that can, or in a family, that is not possible. There has to be adjustment. So there has to be some sacrifice. These are the essential requisites for a happy married life. An emotionally mature person is able to avoid frequent bad moods and has the ability to establish and maintain personal relationships. The whole basis of the family is relationships and communication. So that ability should also be there. That emotional maturity should be present in the individual. Empathy is another characteristic of an emotionally mature person. He or she should be able to understand and perceive the feeling of others. It involves the willingness to recognize the needs of others and to assume the responsibility of meeting them. One is recognizing, and second is fulfilling those needs. When we talk about social maturity, the signs of social maturity are respect for others, honesty, frankness, courage, and ability to provide whatever a family needs. Once you have a family, you cannot say, I will not be able to do this or do that. You have to provide for whatever the needs are. When we talk about intellectual maturity, and it lies in the ability to understand persons, events, situations, and problems. Because all this will happen in a family. There will be different events, there will be multiple people in the family, there will be different situations, and of course, you will have to encounter different problems. Intellectual maturity is the capacity to formulate one's ideas, opinions, and judgments without depending on others. Now, the second factor that need to be is very important is the health and the physical structure. The happy married life is closely related to the health of both the partners. Parents should be healthy to have children of good health. It is advisable not to have marriage relations within the person having a close blood relationship. It is always advised and it is scientific not to have marriages in close blood relationship, because children in such families or children born to such couples may have hereditary diseases which are taken on from both the families. It is also necessary to look out for the RH factor of the blood. If the husband and wife have different RH groups, that is, if one is positive and one is negative, it may affect the children. So, RH factor of the blood should also be considered. HIV testing is extremely important and it should definitely be done before marriage. Wherever there is scope for, and especially when there is a scope for doubt, so that future problems and breakdowns can be avoided. Now, when we talk about the behavior patterns or character of a person or conduct of a person should also be taken into consideration while actually choosing a partner. Character in married life means goodwill, sense of humor, ability to love, honesty, responsibility, concern for others, give and take attitude, cheerfulness, discipline. All this are important characters which the partner should have. Now, education and intelligence. If there should not be much disparity in these factors as far as both the partners are concerned. So it is important that regarding intelligence, both partners should be intelligent enough to manage a home. Sometimes it so happens that a person is an alcoholic and the parents say that once you get him married he will become responsible, but that does not always happen. So nothing of that sort should take place, where one is not intelligent, because he loses intelligence to actually manage a home. Intellectual companionship between the partners is a very important factor, which is not given adequate emphasis in Indian marriages. So it is important, but it is an important consideration. So we looked at the factors that are necessary for choosing a marriage partner. Now, when we will look at the different forms of marriage. The first form of marriage is monogamy. The only form of marriage, or the most acceptable form of marriage found in most societies, is monogamy. What is monogamy? Monogamy is when one man marries one woman and raises children within wedlock and performs all rights with his mate or his partner. Monogamy has a long history of its own. The ancient Hindus regarded this form as the most sacred and ideal form of marriage. Now, the next form of marriage is polygamy. Polygamy is when one male has more than one female. Today, polygamy in Hindus is totally legally prohibited. In Muslims, polygamy is allowed because there is a background to it. In the earlier days, during the when there were wars and there were many of the male members were killed, and there were many females, and the females outnumbered the men. So that the female gets some protection in some family. That is why the whole concept of polygamy came into existence amongst the Muslims. The third type is polyandry. Polyandry is just the opposite, in which one woman gets marries more than one man. So this was earlier found among the Todas and Kotas of Nilgiris in South India. I think in many of the Hindu, what do you say, Mahabharata and all of that also it is found. Then the other form of marriage is levirate. Levirate is which under a woman is taken as wife of the late husband's younger brother, which means that if the husband dies, the younger brother can take her as wife. And in some societies, even during when the elder brother is alive, the younger brother can exercise sexual rights over the wife of the elder brother, which means that two persons are exercising sexual rights on the woman. That is levirate. This form prevails among the Ayers of Haryana, some Jats and Gujars, and also some castes in UP or Uttar Pradesh. Now it's no longer Uttar Pradesh, whatever. Another form of marriage is sororate. In sororate, what happens is that the wives of a man are sisters. Invariably, the sisters of the all the daughters of one family are married to a man. In this form of marriage, several sisters are simultaneously the spouses of the same man. It is usually observed among the Nagas, Gonds, and Baigars of India who pay a high bride price. So when you have to, they will pay the price and they will marry all the sisters. All of them are spouses of the same man. It has been observed that the death of the wife or her being barren is compensated by supplying a new spouse, who's generally the younger sister of the decreased woman. So in case the girl to whom he is married is not able to bear a child, then he is again married to the younger sister and a child is had. Or if the wife expires or dies and the younger sisters again got married to him. So that is how it goes on. Now, what are the different kinds of marriage, forms of marriage? One is the Brahma form. I will not explain this in detail. You can probably read, and I'll just go through it. So the Brahma, the Deva, the Arsha, the Prajapatya, the Asura, Gandharva, Rakshasa, and the Paisacha. These are the different forms of marriage in which the first four are considered Dhanya and the last four are considered Adhanya. Now, when we talk about family, there is also formation that happens in the family. The family passes on values to the children. Now, what are values? When we define values, we say that values are those ideas which direct our thinking and living and give meaning to our existence. When we live by certain ideas, and these ideas they give us meaning to our very being and to our existence, and that is what we call values. The values which we hold dear are expressed in our actions, by which our values receive a certain amount of identity. Each one has got different values, and those values also give each one a certain amount of identity. Family values and influence. Now, values are influenced by several factors: social, cultural, and religious. Now, the families and society, whatever the values are there, the family gives the children its values. The children are trained in the families, and the adults are in the family. They are free to praise, criticize, suggest, or order, so that the children learn what the family preferences are or what the family values are. Taught what is right and what is wrong, what to tell others and what not to tell others, how to behave inside the house and how to behave outside the house. And also to the extent of who should be your friends, who should you should make friendship with. Even that the children are taught. So all these things come from the family. Now, as part of the society, the families like to keep their identity linked to it. No family lives in isolation. It is a part and it is linked to the society. Hence, the family values remain mostly undifferentiated from the values of the society. There are certain social values and social norms in society. Family cannot have values which are totally against or different from the values of the society. For example, if stealing is not a value which is acceptable in the society, it cannot be a for most of the families. Now, again, there could be some abnormal families where it could be an accepted value, but in normal circumstances, these are not values which the families will perpetuate. So there is a strong interaction between the family and the society. So in terms of values, also the values of society and family are generally shared, or there is an influence of one over the other. Now, family is a place where children are trained and so also they the in terms of culture, every family has got certain culture. There are cultural implications of values. You know, like for example, there are certain practices, there are certain religious rituals, there are certain symbols, and there are certain customs of a society. For example, in some cultures, you know, married women must wear a mangalsutra, or in some cultures, red bangles should be whatever those, you know. So even culture has an implication on the value system of the of the family, and which is also passed on to the children. Traditions and languages of different regions or nationalities are expressions of values of the ethnic group to which one belongs. To whichever ethnic group you belong, you will have certain own languages of your own. If not languages, the dialect will be different when you belong to a different regions and different communities. Traditions are different. So that is how the values will also depend on these factors. Though India is known for its unique culture, the different religions have specific cultures. It is important to understand that it is not so culture in India is not something which is homogeneous. It is heterogeneous. It expresses itself in different ways like lifestyle, food habits, dress, symbolic expressions, customs, rituals. So, culture is one important factor. The next one is religion. Religion also has an impact on the values. It provides a code of norms which will guide and enable persons to have an objective understanding of God and the ways of life. Every religion has got a code of conduct. For example, in some religions, the value system says that abortion should not be done. A life should not be destroyed. You know, that is the value behind it. So that is how even religion influences values. Religion must help people grow in a balanced, harmonious, altruistic attitude, which will result in accepting all people as one's relations. This is very important, regardless of their caste, creed, religion, or customs, land, language. No religion preaches that you should hate the other. All religions are equal, and every religion teaches you and preaches to respect and love mankind, irrespective of which caste, creed, religion, customs, or language that person follows. Now, family values will also influence the attitude towards sex. Now, according to a classic concept, what Freud says is that a little boy at the age of 5 or 6 chooses his mother as the first object of his sexual desires, because probably that is the first female in his life, or the most important female in this life. The same is true about the girls regarding their father. Now, the upbringing of the children with a positive, balanced relationship with family members and outsiders at this age is very important and essential for the proper growth of values regarding sexuality in children. Now, the understanding of sex as part of the body for us, it is very important that you understand sex as a natural thing and as a part of your body. And the whole purpose why you are in this world, the children need to be taught, gradually taught about this as they mature in life. Now, the media these days has a very strong influence on families and on family values. The advertisements would set the norms and values concerning food, what to eat, what not to eat, dress, how to dress up, and friends, and all the other social norms or values. The concepts or values are created in children by what they see and hear in the media, TV, internet, computer, and other technological devices have become a source for entertainment, not only for the children, but for both the adults and the children. The role models for the present generation are film stars who constantly appear on televisions. So that is as far as values and the influence of various socio-economic, cultural, and religious factors on values are concerned. The next topic is role expectations in marital life. Now, what are marital roles? These are behavioral expectations of wife and a husband in particular society at any given time. There are certain expectations from the wife, there are certain expectations from the husband, which means not as a person but as a role. Roles are cultural creations rather than biological imperatives. Now, roles is not something which is natural or by instinct, it is created by cultures. It provides facility for smooth running of the society, and the basic purpose is division of labor for men and women. Now, there have been a number of changes in the gender roles. There are no definite rules that are laid down, in order so that there are to assign roles to men and women. There are cultural variations, and also the spouses may also mutually decide to bring about changes in their marital roles. However, some marital roles are unchangeable. For example, a man cannot give birth to a child, only a woman can give. So that rule, there are certain rules which cannot be altered or changed. Those are there biologically or naturally. Now, as in the generally speaking, when we talk about role expectations in marital life, what are the expectations from a man, or what are the roles of a man? There it depends on the culture. In some cultures there could be unique male roles. Like for example, in most of the cultures, strength and courage are still considered to be the qualities of men. So physical strength and social dominance are more functional for male roles. That is how it is, though it may not be true. So a man is generally expected to be the provider and the protector of the family, protecting the women folk and the children of the family. According to the traditional role expectations, he is also supposed to be the bread earner and head of the family. In order to be a bread earner, he has to acquire a job, and so after which he would support his wife and children. Then there is the leadership role which a man is traditionally supposed to take. He is entrusted with the role of a leader and supervisor of all the family endeavors, whatever it is, any decisions, any functions, any tradition, rituals, whatever. He is the supervisor and the leader. For the child, his or her first heroes will be his or her own parents, particularly the father who holds a position of authority in the family. Then also, a man will have a role as a husband. As a husband, he will have a role as a of a sex partner, companion, confidant, decision maker, and accountant. In India, yes, accountant also. He must train himself to be a better observer so that he can be of great help to his wife. It is very important that he should notice his wife and praise her performance and ability. He should provide emotional support to her. Then comes the role as a father. Now, father holds a dominant position in the family. In our culture, he is the chief authority or he is the head of the family. Children need him for their overall development. This is as far as major role of the man is concerned. Now, when we talk about women, but they are conditioned most of the time to carry out the reproductive role. The traditional roles of the women is biologically, psychologically, and emotionally, the woman is prepared for motherhood. She is trained to carry out the roles of birth, nurture, protection, gratification, and giving support not only to the children but also to the men. In the life of women, these functions are given priority over all other engagements and all other duties. The other thing is role as a wife. As a wife, she is expected to be affectionate companion, a good sex partner, confidant, and social secretary of her husband. Social secretary, very important. She has to take charge of the social life of the couple. She should develop interest in her husband's work. She should be able to understand his world of activities. Moreover, she should be able to give him intellectual companionship. So multiple roles as a wife, as a homemaker. It is considered that it is a duty of the women to make her house a beautiful place to live in. She should take care of the basic needs of the family, such as nutrition, clothing, recreation, etc. And finally, the role as a mother. She represents to her children the ideas and ideals of a perfect womanhood who works in harmony with her husband. That is how she is supposed to depict herself. The child's first attachment is to his mother, the first figure in any child's life, or the most important figure is his mother, and the first attachment bond he or the strongest bond he develops is with his mother. She is his or her source of nourishment, warmth, and comfort. Now, with this, we will stop here. Tomorrow, we will look at the other two blocks, the block 2 and block 3. Thank you so much.